Hello and welcome to another episode of the Top of Off Cricket Podcast. I am your host, Kevin Henry, and as usual, we are talking everything West Indies cricket. But tonight, I do have a West Indian, but he doesn't currently play for the West Indies. He's Guyanese, former Guyanese pacer and current Canadian national team pacer, Jeremy Gordon. So we're going to talk about some things with Jeremy. We're going to talk about his career so far. Matter of fact, I was looking at your stats recently, and I noticed you've been in this game a pretty long time.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have. Thank you for having me on the show, first of all. Thank you for having me. But yes, I've been playing I think professionally for like 17 years professionally.
Yeah, you coming up on 2 decades of doing this thing, man. That is really really good longevity.
No respect. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Yeah, a lot of players can attest to that. Your fitness. I do see one of the things I do see you do a lot is you pay attention to your diet, you pay attention to your fitness, and I think that is key.
No, I
Um,
agree. I agree. I agree.
there's a rumor that someone had told me something a few years ago. They said when Jeremy was a young pacer, he, wa- he there was some school cricket that was playing. I think it was overseas, and you wanted to hit Xavier Marshall. How
Oh,
true is
yeah,
that?
yeah. That was actually true. That was actually true. So basically, it was for Guyana under 19. So I played 2 years for Guyana under 19. So my first year was in Jamaica, and that was
Mm,
Stevie Marshall's last year. So because at that time I think he was the best youth batsman around, and for me to test, my skills and my ability, and everyone's been telling me that I'm fast, so I'm like, if I can hit him in his head, I mean that means I'm pretty quick. So, but unfortunately, we didn't get to play against Jamaica, so that never happened.
okay.
Yeah.
I always wanted to ask you that question. Like every time I talk to you or I send you a message on Facebook, I always forget to ask you that question.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's true. It's true. It's true. It's true. Yeah.
I remember Xavier Marshall being a young firecracker as an opening batsman.
Hmm.
You know, it's kind of sad to see how his career didn't pan out the way how it started because I
Hmm.
really loved watching him. But
Me too, man. Me too. Me too.
when I took a look at your debut match that you played for Guyana, first class cricket, and I look at the playing 11, there were some stalwarts in that 11.
Hmm. Hmm. A lot of my idols are my mentors, to be honest. For me, it's so real. Like, before I touch on that match, last year we were in Bermuda to qualify for the T20 World Cup,
Mm,
and Rayon King was the match referee. So I remember the guys were getting a bit starstruck with Rayon King, and I'm like, I played with him. He was my teammate, and they're
yeah.
like, "What do you mean?" So they're like, they're like, "What do you mean?" And then like I remember Kingy came over and he was telling guys like, "Yeah, like he played with me and stuff like that." So yeah, yeah, man. Like I was fortunate enough to play with some of my mentors and people I look up to. So I think that was a great achievement for myself. Like as a 18, I think I was 18 as an 18-year-old. I think that was a pretty good achievement.
Yeah. Because when I looked at the team, I saw Sarwan,
Yes,
Nagamutu,
yes. Neil McGarrow. Yeah,
Chattogun, Azimul
yeah,
Hanif,
yeah,
Narsing.
yeah.
Those are some guys that I actually played against, and I was like, damn, this was a top lineup that you managed to break into.
Yes, it really was. It really was. To be honest, like I said, I was quite fortunate. And then I played against Sylvester Joseph or Naka Merton.
Yeah,
I wanted to play against Stuart Williams, but he actually retired the year before.
yeah, the
So
year
I was trying to
before.
I was hoping to play against him, but it was actually a proper team I was playing against too, right? So
That was tough stuff. That was top stuff, man.
hmm
So,
so a little insight about that game too. So I remember I'm making my debut and saw one obviously as the captain he came to me, he's like, you got about 20 overs on a trot. Because what's happened in the nets, I used to hit him in his head all the time for fun. I used to run them in the nets and he's like, okay, you want to bowl fast? If you're gonna bowl 20 overs on the trot, and if your pace go down, you're getting dropped. So we had to bowl like 20 overs from the bottom end, hot Albion sun, and it was a good first class game. I think I got like maybe 3 or 4 wickets. but
Yeah,
it was
you
just
picked up
like,
4 wickets in the
you know,
game.
yeah, it was a good experience, to be honest, a good experience.
So when you knew that you were going to make you were going to debut in that game, right? When you stepped out at Albion that morning, what was the feeling like?
Honestly, it was very surreal, but I was happy that it was like home. Like I'm
Yeah,
from Berbice, it's in Berbice. I has had my friends and some of my family members present, so it didn't really feel like a first class game, if that makes sense. It felt like, it's a game. It felt like a pickup game almost because like friends and family were around and they were cheering me.
yeah.
So for me, it was just to focus on what I've been doing all along, which is like bowling fast and hopefully get some wickets. So that was like my train of thought in that moment.
That is awesome stuff, man. Awesome stuff.
Yeah.
When you 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 left Guyana when?
2008. So it's actually a funny story for that one too. In the middle of a game, so it's kind of a controversy, and I can touch it in a bit. So we're playing against Barbados. To this day, um, it's probably the fastest I've bowled.
Hmm.
So growing up there, like well, coming through our 19 and senior, people talk about how I'm bowling like mid to high 90s.
Yeah,
I didn't necessarily believe what people are saying because it was never like checked or anything like that.
yeah.
But I remember like leading up to the game, we had a practice session, and Travis Dowlin and Shiv and Sars were like, that was the quickest they've ever faced in the nets. And so now let's fast forward to the game now. So in the game, I think I got like maybe 3 wickets in the space of like 3 overs. So Dale Richards, Dwayne Smith, and Rayan Hines all back in the hut. So there were
Big
like three or
names.
yeah, there were like three. There were four down, I think, for like under 15 runs. But the issue was I bought brand new shoes. So like my heel got bruised up from the brand new shoes. So after I got those wickets, I came off, and Barbers end up making like 300 and something runs. So to this
Jeez.
day, like they kind of blame me because obviously like I was running through them. My heel got messed up. He was bleeding and stuff, right? So I had to come off the field. And at that point, they just capitalized. But
Yeah.
like I said, and then at the time, Gordon Greenwich was the selector for West Indies, the trimmer selector. I remember he coming to me, he's like, I've never seen this type of pace from a Guyanese. And so like it was a so real moment. I had Mr. Moore there, basically the instrumental in my career. He was the
Yeah.
manager, and Albert Smith was the coach. So
Yeah. Smitty was the
it was
coach.
it was a, it was like a good familiar environment as well. So like yeah, that was a so real moment for me. 2008, yeah.
So once you came over here, well, to Canada, right? Was there thoughts in still representing Guyana, still having aspirations of playing for the West Indies?
Oh yeah, for sure. So I came to Canada 2007. So just after the World Cup in the Caribbean. So I came to Canada, and I basically came back. So I came to Canada, got my papers, so like
Hmm.
to get the I think it's called the landed documents, the PR. I got my PR and stuff like that, and I went straight back to Guyana. I played club cricket, ended up playing the 2008 first class season. Um, and then there was a altercation with myself and the captain. I'm not gonna call him out. So and he ended up like
Was that
ba-
Sarwan?
basically yes. So basically, so he ended up dropping me in the middle of a match. He sent me home in the middle of a match. That's basically what happened. So and I
Jeez.
end up like I'm like if that's the case, I'm going to Canada. So I left halfway through the game. I booked my ticket and I came to Canada. Having said that, I've always kept in touch with the guys, and I've always kept like asked if I can come back. And 2015, I was asked to come back because at that point I was having a pretty good Canadian first class and list A
Season?
series. Yeah, season basis. I came back. I went to the trials. I got a fiver in trials. So the likes of Shiv Narayan Chandrapal, Leon Johnson, Himnarayan Chandrapal, Robin Singh, I believe his name was, and Jonathan Fu. Those are the five I got in quick
Mm.
succession again, right? So played 2 trial matches. I think I got maybe like 7 matches, the most wickets, and I was obviously the fastest,
Yeah.
right? And then I was told in order for me to make the team, I need to pay. And I'm like, I came from Canada to play first class cricket as a professional player in the hopes of getting paid. So I'm not trying to pay to make the team. So there was that, and I ended up leaving. And and that was the Guyana aspect of trying to play for Guyana. But after that point, 2018 and 2019, Darren Powell reached out to me, was trying to get me to come play for Jamaica, but it never really worked out. It was basically trying to get me to come and play locally, because at that point you can have like, you know, people from different islands play for different teams.
Yeah.
So they were trying to get me to come down and play for, but it didn't actually end up happening.
Any specific reason why that didn't materialize?
I guess for me it was like the work. So I work in IT here, and
Yeah.
I would have had to like find a place to stay, and then trying to figure out, like expenses and stuff. And I wasn't sure how I was going to be able to do that, to be honest, and then provide for my family. So I had
Yeah.
to make a decision, to be
Yeah.
honest. But otherwise, I think I would have took it.
Yeah. That would have been a tough one. That would have been a tough one indeed.
Yeah.
So, at any point, given the fact that you were one of the fastest in the West Indies, right? When you were playing 2007, let's say that time frame, right?
Yes.
Looking at the long list of fast bowlers that would have passed through the West Indies team over from that point, from your debut to now, what do you think your chances would have been?
I would have played definitely 100%. Like, it is one of my biggest regrets. I mean, I have a daughter in Canada, so like I don't want to say it's a complete regret, but
Yeah.
it is one of my biggest regrets coming here, to be honest, because I know for sure Brandon Best played for West Indies, and he was one of my understudies. If that
Yeah.
makes sense. So like when I was around, Brandon Best couldn't make the 11, right?
Yeah.
And he ended up playing for West Indies. So I know for sure, had I been around, I would have played. There's no doubt about it.
Because I saw the match that he played when I can't remember who it was that got injured, but he ended up being drafted into the team. And
Yes. Yes.
when I looked at him, and I was like, it's a medium pacer, right?
Yes.
No, and no, nothing against the young man, but when you look at his pace, and I looked at what's really required at the international level, and you could see the reason why he struggled, right, and never played for West Indies again. So that was a tough ask for him. Moving on to that, let's take a look at where you are right now, right? I did a tally up of all the matches that you would have played, whether it's T20, List A, First Class. Matter of fact, I got it. You've only played 5 first class matches, 5 red ball matches.
Only 5, yes. So I played 2 for Guyana and 3 for Canada. So the thing about first class cricket went away for Canada back in 2012 when we lost the ODI. Yeah, 2012 when we lost the ODI status. The first class went away, and then like even for the associates, ICC just kind of stopped at first class, and it was only List A and ODIs. Well, List A, T20, T20I, and ODIs.
Do you think the ICC erred in that regard?
I honestly I think so, because even if you look at the likes of Ireland and Afghanistan, so like for instance, they're not a full member team, right? So they basically come into full member status, and they weren't even playing first class cricket, because they took that away. Because remember, Afghanistan and Ireland, they were considered associate for a long time.
Yeah.
And when they were given that status, they weren't playing first class cricket, and which you can actually kind of see when they play Test cricket. There's a there's a
gulf.
clear difference. There's a clear difference. Like skill. Well, I mean, they're skillful, yes, but because they don't play enough of red ball cricket, they struggle.
Because I've watched Ireland play Test cricket. I watched them play against Pakistan. I've watched Afghanistan against West Indies, and I think I watched them against, who was that? If I'm not mistaken, India. They have some pretty talented batsmen, right? But when you look at what is required at the associate level, and then you have that jump, boom, you're playing Test cricket. The demands are different, right?
Way different. Yeah.
And you could see because matter of fact, recently Afghanistan played against Sri Lanka, and the difference between the two teams was the willingness to bat long hours.
Yes.
we all know that Afghanistan got some batsmen there. There's some firecrackers. They T20 cricket, one day cricket, they'll scare you off the park. But it showed when it asked them to spend 3 hours at the crease, and that was the difference.
Hmm.
You know, because when I looked at your stats, I was like, 5 matches. This man has been in the game for almost 20 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Only five. Yeah.
And I can imagine that there's some regret there, you know, like you said, you know,
Hmm.
not being afforded a chance to play more for Guyana based on the situations or the stuff that happened that surrounded that. And then you came over to Canada and you were only able to play 3 matches because the ICC effectively said, well, we're going to end your first class career.
Yeah, yeah, basically, and if you like watch and study my bowling, I'm more of a red ball bowler than I am white ball. To be honest,
Yep.
my style is more suited for red ball than it is for white ball.
This World Cup actually suited your bowling.
Well, true. That is true. That is true. That is true. That is true.
This
That is
World
true.
Cup suited every bowler that's a test
Yeah,
bowler, that's a red ball bowler.
that,
This World Cup suited
that
that.
is right. That's
You
right. Just
know,
hit your hard length as
yeah,
consistently
hit
as
your hard lengths
possible,
and yeah,
and the pitch did whatever it did.
yeah. Because I remember watching you. You started well against the United States,
Yes.
and up until that point when that one bad over that you had, right?
Yes. Yes.
Y'all were ahead. What was the conversation prior to that over within the team, if you can say?
So basically, to be honest, there wasn't any conversation. So what happened? I think there's a spinner that came on, and Jones took a liking to him.
Hmm.
So basically, Nikhil Datta came on.
Yes.
Jones took a liking to him. Then the skipper came on. He took a liking to him too. Then Dylan came on, and then he bowled a part-time spinner. So at that point, we're like, "What are you doing? Like, why aren't you bringing back myself?" But this is like myself and the vice captain. We're basically standing side by side. I'm like, "What is he doing? Like, why myself or Kaleem?
Hmm.
Kaleem is the left arm seamer coming back,
Yeah.
right?" So when he brought me back, um, I did at that point because basically I realized there's a lot of momentum, and I was working on a lot of reverse swing in the nets.
Hmm.
So the ball's reverse swinging like massively. So like as opposed to me sticking to what I know, which is probably like cross seam in the depth and just wicket to wicket, I was trying for this hooping in swing, and I just lost control. But when I
Yeah.
lost control at that point, the game the game got to me, right? So I think
Yeah.
that was basically my bad in that scenario. As opposed to going for wickets, I should have basically tried to contain and stick to what I know, as opposed to trying to bowl this beauty of a delivery. Just
Hmm.
stick to what I know and try to restrict the scoring. To be honest,
Top of off never
I
fails,
blame
right?
myself. I blame myself. I blame myself. I blame myself for that one. To be honest,
Top
because
of
had we
off
won
never
that game,
fails.
that is true. That is true. Because had we won that game though, we would have been in the semis. We'll start
So
in the super
that
eights.
was my next question for you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you look at how you guys ended up, you guys beat Ireland. There was the no result against India. There was the near victory against the United States. You could have easily been in Barbados playing against the West Indies.
Yes, yes.
What once you guys what took place like within you yourself and the team to get up back and after because that was devastating when once that
Hmm.
happened. What was your thought process going into the next game?
I was definitely distraught, right? So I was distraught, um, and I'm thinking at this point is the end of my World Cup because there's a lot of internal battles too within the team. So I thought that was like legit my last game, but luckily for myself, some of the guys within the team, including the bowling coach, stood up for me like, listen, we haven't had because remember my first over I think I bowled for like maybe 5 runs.
Yeah.
And I wanted a third over. I feel like in the power play, I'm good to bowl three. Especially if I'm going well, let me bowl three. Right. So I feel like, they stood up for me in the meeting, they're like, no, no, no. He had one bad over and that does not define him, and especially all the work he's done for the country over the years. Had I not performed in the past, he would not have even been in the World Cup, right? So that gave me a bit of grace. And I know coming into Ireland game, I have to now stick to my guns, do what I know best. And then for me now is to, and actually rest of the tournament, if you look, my pace went down because at that point I'm like, I'm not gonna go with pace anymore because I might get carried away. Because ideally, my thing was like try to get up to 150 plus. But then I'm like, okay, you know what? That didn't work against the US, and I know coming to New York now, that may not matter because the wicket is going to be helping me. So I don't need to necessarily bowl fast. If I bowl consistent and hit the right channels, I might get reward in that regards. And
Yeah.
that was the plan moving forward, to be honest.
Because my next question for you also, you kind of like somehow it's like you're beating me to the punch. I
I'm
was going to
sorry,
ask you
sorry.
about that because in the United States game, you were up in the 140s, right?
Yes.
And then I noticed in the games against Pakistan and Ireland, you dropped pace a little bit. So I was like,
Yes.
this is deliberate,
Yes.
and the figures showed what
Yes.
was going on.
Yes. It was definitely deliberate. And then the other caveat, I was bowling against the wind. And that's something again a little bit political within the team because me being your fastest bowler should be with the wind. So and the fact that I'm coming against the wind, my thing was to reserve my energy again and go for accuracy and control, as opposed to like try to fight myself, fight the wind, and potentially, stray the ball, right?
Yeah. So you were obviously on the back end of your career. You're 37 now. Um,
Mm-hmm.
any plans on hanging it up anytime soon?
To be honest, but yes, there is plans. So, for instance, I found out during the World Cup, there's the 2026 World Cup, 2026 February. So at that point, I'll be 39. If the Most High allows it and the body allows it, I'm actually gonna try to see if I can make it to that World Cup. Um, and in terms of like 50 over stuff, ODI stuff, so it goes by cycle. So we have I think it's like a 3 year cycle.
Hmm.
Um, we're just starting the cycle here, so I think that also wraps up in 2026. So around that point, so if again that's how the body feels and stuff like that, we'll see how the body feels and if the Most High allows it, a good 2 more years. Otherwise, you know, I'm here. I'm here. I'm here.
You're
I'm here.
here.
I love it. I love playing. I'm not gonna lie. I really enjoy playing, and if I can contribute without taking away a spot from a youngster, I'll
Yeah.
play. But at this point, there's not too many fast bowlers in associate cricket in Canada, so that actually bowls the kind of speed I bowl. So like I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily stifling a youngster, if that makes sense. If I ever feel like I am at that point, I can happily just hang it up.
Given the squad that you guys have now,
Hmm.
and you're looking towards 2026, the next World Cup, right? I think that is that in South Africa,
No, that's India and Sri Lanka.
India, and Sri Lanka. Yes. Um, do you think? I know you guys have a lot of older players, right?
Hmm.
Like yourself and a few others.
Yes.
Over the next 2 years, do you see are there a few youngsters that can be knocking at the door so hard that they can make an impact and get you guys to the World Cup?
1,000%. Honestly, there's a lot of youngsters. There's a lot of youngsters. The system here is quite interesting, to be honest.
Hmm.
No disrespect to the guys that were there with us, like with me or with us in terms of the World Cup team. There are other guys that could have definitely slotted in there, but
Hmm.
due to different reasons, they have not been considered, and hopefully, because I'm trying my best to see what I can do to help, change the system, if that makes sense, because
Yeah.
they are talented people that deserve a shot and deserve to play, but they just haven't been given opportunities. So I'm hopeful because they are, like I said, there are talented guys knocking on the door right now as we speak, but it's just the opportunity that they're looking for. And hopefully, like I said, there is a platform for them to, or a pathway for them into the team, whether it's,
Hmm.
depending on different series and different tours, you rotate players. I think there could be like a rotation policy, or like depend like I said, it could be somewhere where like even like pre tour matches, you have some of the younger guys play just to kind of or develop some sort of development team, A team, something like that, just to get those guys ready for international cricket.
With that being said, what is the system like in Canada, and how does it lend to the development of the game and bringing youngsters through?
Okay. So it's obviously quite different from like a test playing nation like the West Indies, like obviously where I'm from.
Hmm.
So how fitness is a big one of the big criteria in terms of selecting teams back home. It's big, but it's not necessarily the biggest thing, and it shows when we play these games, because when you're not super fit, you lose focus quickly. So
Yeah.
like um essentially the highest level of cricket here is called Super Nine. So it's like basically the club level.
Hmm.
So and Toronto basically has the best players. So most of the best players live in Toronto. So they the national team is kind of picked mainly from the Super Nine, but they
Okay.
are provincial or interstate or intercounty, if you want to call it that.
Hmm.
And that's you get players from other provinces come in, and then there's like it's like a national tournament that
Yeah.
used to select the team. But mainly is the Toronto T&D league is where most like is the cream of the crop, to be honest,
Okay.
right? Having said that, the pitches aren't the best. So there's some pitches based on the teams. Um, there's not a lot of fast balls, like I mentioned before. There's a lot of spinners. So
Hmm.
they'll prepare the wicket as such. And some teams have like 4 and 5 left arm spinners. So they're
Okay.
preparing the wicket, so to left arm spinners coming to the game and stuff like that. So the culture, like I said, here is a lot different. Um, some people are picked on merit. I'm going to be honest with you, and some people aren't. And
Yeah.
and that's the nature of the beast, to be honest. But in terms of grassroots, though, I think that's what you're on the question. So there is a push from local governments and stuff to get cricket within the school system. And I have spoken to the administrators like years ago, because I remember Guyana had a program where most of the first class players were assigned different schools in different regions to,
Hmm.
to do like whether it's like a weekly coaching thing or just to introduce the game to youths. So I think the board is looking to adapt a similar thing, because I think that's the only way for you to push the sport forward if you actually want to grow it here. And then build infrastructure. There's no stadiums here. So like for instance, GT20 that happens every year, it's a pop-up stadium.
Yeah.
So hopefully, with the hype and the exposure from the World Cup, um, local governments might put some money into building proper facilities, and hopefully, again, that's another way to push the game forward.
I hope they get, because I really want I like watching the associate nations when they play, because you guys it's all heart, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at Afghanistan, Ireland, Scotland, Canada, United States, you guys bring something to the game, right? It's a little bit different. It's a little bit more hustle when you guys play, because for you guys it's a lot more at stake, because you you,
Mm-hmm.
you want to get there, and you want to maintain, right, your status there.
Very
So
true.
that
Very true.
hustle that I see when you guys are playing, that is what draws me to watch you guys. I like watching Scotland play. I like watching Ireland play. I like watching United States. I like watching Afghanistan. The nations that are low on the totem pole. I like watching them play, because there's something there that you see that you don't necessarily see from the test playing nations.
Mm-hmm.
There's no entitlement with you guys, and that's, to
That's
me,
right.
that's the difference, right?
No, I agree. I agree.
So you say, you're shooting for 2026. If
Mm-hmm.
if you were to retire right now or tomorrow, you were to write to the Canadian Cricket Association and say, "Hey, look, I've had to think about it, and that's it." Would you say you've left Canadian cricket in a better place than you found it?
Ooh, I want to say yes, but also no.
Mhm.
Um, so I have a fast bowling academy, because like I mentioned before, there's not a lot of guys bowling 140 plus here.
Yeah.
So I have a fast bowling academy, and the goal is if I can help help produce one or two, or even like let's say three guys bowling 140 plus. I think at that point I can be like I've left the game in a good place. Because me being a fast bowler, that's probably the best I can do. Like, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm not an all rounder, so like if I can inspire guys to bowl fast and
Yeah.
get a couple guys bowling quickly, I think at that point I would have done my job, to be honest.
What
Yeah.
what needs to happen, right? What needs to happen to make Canadian cricket more competitive?
Um, Great question. So, first of all, picking the teams on merit. That's one. So if that could happen, and hopefully it happens one day, someday, because you'll be surprised. There are a lot of talented players here, especially Caribbean players, West Indian players here. So and that aren't a part of the system for whatever reason. I know the reason. I'm not going to say it, right?
That's fine.
Um,
Yeah.
um, in infrastructure. So if you get proper infrastructure, and then unity. So like many teams, there are teams within the teams within teams. And I've obviously coming from Guyana, I've experienced that. But what I love about Guyana, and I think it happens with what the West Indies and it happens with other test playing nations, is that whatever squabble you have outside the field, when you get on the field, you're a unit. But I'm sure the world sees it. It's not just Canada. It happened with most associate teams. When they get in the field, even though we are competitive, you can see that we're not completely a unit. So if we can figure out that unity piece, we're like, yeah, we come from different places in the world. We speak different languages. We our viewpoints are different, which
Hmm.
is fine. But once we cross that line and we're playing cricket, we're brothers. Like we're a
Yeah.
family, and no one's gonna penetrate us. When we get off the field, we can just not talk to each other, right? And that's fine. So if that can happen, I think we would be competing with some of the best teams, to be
So
honest.
team culture needs to change.
Yes, 100%. Yes, 100%.
What are the conversations like surrounding that?
We've had many conversations, but again, some of the people within the team, they're uncomfortable with the conversations, and some, depending on the culture, they don't take constructive criticism well. They think as a personal attack, as opposed to like, I'm I'm seeing this blind spot that you may have. I'm
Mm.
telling you for the betterment of you and the team, as
Hmm.
opposed to you thinking I'm trying to bring you down. Like that's not a process. Like you're my brother, I'm your brother. End of the day, we're trying to make each other better, right?
Yeah.
So if again people can take away their personal feelings and emotions, and that's what tend to happen with these multicultural teams. People are taking things differently based on culture, right?
Yeah.
And probably based on like even intellectual levels, right? So if that can kind of, I think maybe getting a psychologist. I think one time Canada had a psychologist. That might have been 5 years ago, for one of the tours. I was not on that tour, unfortunately. I'm not sure if that benefited the players, but I think maybe just having a psychologist around to kind of like mitigate certain things and getting people to be comfortable talking about certain things, that could be a solution, to be honest.
Because it's tough to be a cricketer and a crisis manager at the same time, right?
Exactly. It is. It is.
Because I'll tell you something. I watched both the United States and Canada during this World Cup, right? And I noticed the same kind of things that you're describing. I could see it from the television.
Hmm.
You can see it like there's a click,
Hmm.
right?
Yes.
It is visible.
Hmm.
So I get what you're saying with regards to, people need to understand that once we cross those ropes, once we cross that boundary line, we're playing for Canada. It is not Sri Lanka. We're not playing for Sri Lanka. Whether you're from Pakistan, India, wherever,
Yeah.
we
Hmm.
we all said we're playing for Canada. The Maple Leaf. That's what we're representing, right? So
Yes.
I
Yes.
know that's a tough dynamic to navigate. I
Hmm.
certainly do hope uh, that thing changes, the culture changes, because
Hmm.
when you left Guyana and you made the decision to play for Canada, it's a decision to play for Canada. you're no longer playing for Guyana. You no longer, you know. Let's see how that goes. I'll definitely be watching
Yeah, me
to
too,
see,
man.
you know,
Fingers crossed on that one.
fingers crossed. Yeah, because it's the little things that usually keep people or teams back, right? It's never the big things. It's always the little
Agree.
things. You know, the little the intangibles, as I would say to some people. Um,
Hmm.
let's look back for a moment. Have you ever you and SARS ever, you know, had a conversation with regards to the issue that happened back in damn near 17 years ago?
Honestly, I saw him once in Toronto, but he came to play for the team I was playing for, and
Mm.
we never really spoke about it. I think 2 years later he came, but at that point I was like, what is the point? You know what I'm saying? So like I just kind of like I left it as is, to be honest, left it as is.
Okay, but you guys were cordial. You spoke.
Yeah, we spoke. Like there was
Okay.
no animosity. I mean whatever animosity I had, you know, growing up, we're able to kind of like let things go. You know, like for me, if it's not affecting my life or whatever, I just let it go. So I was able to let it go, and clearly it didn't affect him, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. It affected me more, and I let it go. So, so
It certainly didn't affect him.
yeah.
So we're coming down to the end. I got a quick fire thing about so GT20 is on the horizon.
Yes.
What personal goals? I think you're switching teams now. You're with Vancouver.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yeah, I'm in Vancouver.
So you were with who before? I can't remember. I didn't take a look.
Brampton. Oh, Brampton. I was
Yes.
Brampton. I said. Yeah.
Who
So
who who do you guys have in that squad that you're looking forward to for some big things from?
it's a power pack roster, man. So you got Babar Azam, Mohammed Rizwan, Mohammed Amir. So I'm looking forward to teaming up with Mohammed Amir. I think I'm someone I've actually admired for a long time, and I had a pleasure to meet him in the World Cup, seeing him do his thing, and I definitely feel like I can learn from him even at this tender age of 37. So I'm looking forward to basically bowling with him, learning from him, and and just kind of take it from there. To be honest.
Did you guys have any conversations during the World Cup about the GT20? You and Azam and Rizwan and Amir.
Well, not necessarily, but I spoke to well, not Babar Azam, Mohammed Rizwan or Amir, but I spoke to Shaheen. So Shaheen told me he was coming,
Okay.
even before he was announced. Like I guess he knew about it before I did or we did. So he was like,
Hmm.
"Yeah, it's happening. He's coming." So I spoke to him, and he was saying he's looking forward to coming to Canada because he's been following and he heard good things, and he's looking forward to coming in and playing. So I'm like, "Yo, that's dope," you know. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I noticed there's a heavy influx of Pakistani players in that tournament. Um,
Yes, there is.
any West Indians on the team? I can't remember you guys' roster.
On my team, um, damn it, I don't think. I think I'm probably doing West Indian. If I'm not mistaken, I think I might be doing West Indian. But I know like other teams like Montreal, Rutherford is back. That's someone I actually admire. You know, like I think he's a solid player. Looking forward to to see him do his thing as well. Hopefully get him out. But I'm looking forward to see him do his
Definitely
thing.
a plus, right?
Not against me, but against other teams. So hopefully, but
Ah,
yeah.
so we spoke earlier about first class cricket and the ICC taking it away. I want to take a step back a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
do you think the fact that you guys are not afforded long format cricket, it's affecting your short format cricket?
1,000%. Because you learn the game playing the longer version. Like you learn about your game and how to cope in different situations. You know, because you might start off like for instance again like I mentioned, the red ball suit me more because I may start off slow or bad in a red ball scenario, but I can always pick up
Hmm.
because the session by session I may have a bad session, I can come and pull it back in the second session, right? And again by playing the long game is again is patience and consistency, and it's probably a bit of mind game too. You know, like
Yeah.
I might figure if I hide the ball from this batter for a couple overs, he might get impatient and try something, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then and then it's like obviously learn how to observe people. Again, me being a fast bowler, so now transferring that into the white ball cricket. Now I'm bowling as obviously I have my mindset on where I want to bowl, but because of playing red ball, I know sometimes people get hasty.
Yeah.
So look at the body language. So I know where I want to bowl, but then I'm also keeping an eye on your body language because I might have to change at any last moment because you know what I'm saying because you're trying to score. And then you learn most of that stuff again playing red ball cricket.
So does Cricket Canada have any plans to mitigate, seeing that ICC has said, well, listen, we're not going to bother with y'all and no 4 day cricket or 3 day cricket?
Mhm.
Is there any plans to say, well, okay, this is how we can do things differently, seeing that the ICC has pretty much, shut down that avenue? Is there any plans to make a tour to West Indies, play Jamaica, play Trinidad, United States, do your own thing?
As far as I know, no, but that possibly could change. As far as I know, sorry, there's no plans for that, but you never know. Things could change in a matter of minutes or seconds or days, right? But as of
Yeah,
right
yeah.
now, I don't think there's a plan for that.
Because I believe, sometimes you have to help yourself, right?
I agree. I agree.
And
I agree.
I know one of the things that might be a stumbling block might be the finances to do such, you know,
Hmm. Hmm.
because you guys' budget might be more of a shoestring budget than what's afforded to the West Indies, and West Indies are struggling where finances are concerned, so it might be a
Facts.
little bit more tough for you guys. But I hope somehow, you know, things can work out whereby, because I believe if the United States to succeed, the Canadas to succeed, the Irelands, the Afghanistan, they definitely have to play more long format cricket, and it only bodes well for world cricket as on the whole.
I
All right?
agree. I agree. To your point, I remember back in the day, we used to come and play in the list A cricket in the West Indies and well mainly list A and the T20s. So
Yeah,
I think they need to find a way to bring that back. Like
that was a good thing for y'all.
yeah, and that's on the Canadian board to reach out to the West Indies board to figure out if we can actually play in those tournaments.
Yeah.
Because I will say if I was telling someone actually, but in terms of the World Cup, so for me like it was my first World Cup. It didn't sort of feel like a World Cup, if that makes sense, because I
Hmm.
played against most of the players except for the Indian players. Because like you said, the Pakistani players they come to GT20, or I played against them in the US for different leagues within the US because they're in the US a lot, right? Most of those
Yeah.
guys. I played against obviously USA, played against Ireland a couple of times. Um, yeah, so for me it's like I'm playing against people I've played with before. So having said that, it bridged the gaps when you play more cricket against top quality players, obviously your confidence go up and then your skill level because obviously you're testing yourself now against top players or
Yeah.
seasoned players who basically this is their job. And for us, yeah, yes, we're full time contracted now, but it's only been a year since we've been full time contracted. Some of these guys obviously have been contracted or cricket is day in day out for them. They eat, sleep, breed cricket, right?
And if Canadian cricket is to be more competitive, you guys need to get to that standard, right?
Agreed, agreed, agreed.
So when you guys were in the World Cup, it wasn't for you personally. There was no stage fright.
No, 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 no. Because I think this is because going back to Tugberg. So this is why I talk a lot about my upbringing in Tugberg because I played the second division cricket. Whoever knows about second division cricket in Guyana, I played that before under 15. So I remember playing a couple of second division matches before I played under 15. So in my mind,
Mm.
I always preferred to like play at a higher level than my current level because I think at my current level I underperform. I think because what happened, I get complacent.
Yeah.
So for me, like coming into work, I'm like, yes, I get to challenge myself against the top of the top, basically. And I've probably told myself that I'm good enough. I want to actually see how good I am compared to these guys. So for me, I was more excited than anything else.
Coming into the World Cup, who did you look forward to playing most? India or Pakistan?
Well, India. To be honest, India. But Pakistan too, but maybe India more.
You wanted that Virat Kohli scalp, huh?
1,000%. 1,000%. A
Because
thousand
you got to
percent.
think about it. Up until the final, he had a lean World Cup, right?
1,000%. Yes, I was looking forward to it too.
Yeah. The rain didn't do you guys no favor down in Florida, man.
No, definitely not, man. It rained pretty bad. Like it was like a torrential rainfall almost. It was flooding. Like it was flooded. I never seen so much rain in my life. It was crazy.
I had a friend that was at the ground, and he was sending me pictures and videos and stuff, man. He was like, "This is what we got going on here."
Yeah, man. It was insane, man. So much rain. So much rain.
So 2026 is right around the corner. Whether we want to believe it's a year and a half away, actually. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
do you like your guys' chances over the next year and a half? Because you guys are gonna have to go back through qualifying, right?
Yeah, but it's a similar path like last time.
Hmm.
So we beat Bermuda. We're in the World Cup because US because of US it did so well because they got to Super Eight. They have automatic qualifications to the
Yeah,
World Cup, so they're already there.
yeah.
So for us now, we don't have to play them. Just gonna play Bermuda. We beat Bermuda like last time, and we're there. So
Okay,
and
okay.
no disrespect to Bermuda, they're a good team, but Canada's a much better side to be honest. Like on paper.
Yeah.
So if we play to our strengths and our skill level, should be able to beat Bermuda and make it there.
All right. So, couple more things before we wrap up. I got a five set of questions that I want to ask you. Favorite
Okay.
cricket player? Rapid fire.
Right now or right now or in the past?
Ever.
Oh damn. Courtney Walsh.
Courtney Walsh. Favorite moment in cricket?
Being able to play with my idols. So that's making my first class debut for Guyana at Albion.
Most challenging batsman you've ever bowled to?
Ooh. So and that's ever, right? Ever.
Ever. Ever.
Um, there's a guy named Yogeshwar Lal from Esukabo. He had a weird stance, and yeah, he was very challenging to bowl to be honest.
And here I am thinking this is somebody on the world stage, and we went way back into Guyana, deep in Essequibo. Some guy named Yogeshwar Lal. I think I've heard the name before, though.
Yeah, he was a savage back in his day.
He was a savage back in the day.
Yeah, yeah.
Favorite wicket you've taken? One that you've saved all
Um,
time so far.
yeah. I guess Dwayne Smith. I'll take Dwayne Smith. Dwayne Smith.
You'll take Dwayne Smith. Okay.
Yeah.
Look, so do you have an eye on the West Indies England series?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I follow. I follow. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, you see, so you still follow the boys closely
Every game.
every
Like
game.
I'm a diehard. I'm a diehard West Indian. So like, had we made
I-
it to the Super Eight, it would have been I don't know what would have happened because I'm a diehard West Indian. When they played the national anthem, I probably would have been singing the anthem in my Canadian jersey. That's that's how diehard I am.
Man, so we had a Shamar had a breakthrough moment against Australia, and he's done really, really, really well. Starting in first class season last year, they sent him to South Africa. He was a standout in the A tour. Went to Australia, stand out again. Who are you looking for to have a breakout performance against England,
Um,
bowling wise?
bowling wise. Um, the young kid. He's been in England recently. Sorry.
Seals,
Seals. So he's been doing pretty well
yeah,
recently because he played a lot of county cricket.
yeah,
I think the combination with him and Shamar and Alzari, I feel there's something happening there. The three of them on their game can reap havoc in England in those conditions. So I'm looking forward to see how the three of them go if they play together. So I
yeah.
don't know what the combinations are going to be, But they play together. I'm looking forward to see how they go. To be honest,
It's kind of difficult not to select that three right now, especially given the fact that Kimar is not gonna be playing because he's injured. So
that's a good point. That's
you
a good
know,
point. And then I'm sorry. And there's one other guy. I forgot his name. This is his first season, and I think he made 300s back to back. He played for Leeward Islands.
Mikhail
Um,
Louis.
Louis, yes, Louis. So the younger Louis. So I'm looking forward to see how he goes because he looked. I watched some of the first guy's game. He looked pretty solid. His technique looked pretty sound. So I want to see him how he goes with a swinging ball, and hopefully he plays close to his eyes, and he's not.
Yeah,
He give himself a bit of time.
yeah.
I feel like he could be one to look for, to be honest, if he plays again. I don't know the combination, but if he plays.
So I was watching there's a tour match happening that started this morning
Hmm.
against the first class counties 11. There's some youngsters playing they're playing against, and he looked pretty good. He looked pretty good. He was pretty tight.
Hmm.
He got a half century. He made 50.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Okay. Okay. Okay.
what I liked about his selection was it was brave, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And given the fact that Tage Narayan is, I don't know what's going on between here with Tage.
True. True.
I think I don't think it's an ability thing. I think it's more here, right?
Hmm.
Since he left Zimbabwe, he's been in absolute shambles.
Hmm. Hmm.
What I like is that they took him out to the firing line. He might not understand it, and I hope he makes peace with it. But I am happy that they took him out to the firing line because sending him to England might have been career suicide for him.
That is true. That is true. That is true.
You know, but with the Louis selection, I thought it was brave because it could have been easy to be like, you know what, we're gonna hold on to Tage for a little bit more, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
But this young man just made almost 700 runs
First season.
first season, and what I liked was his assuredness at the wicket, his technique, his assuredness, his ability to work the ball in spaces, you know,
Hmm.
play to the conditions, play to the situations. I really like that. And when I watched him play this morning because he came in West Indies, we were one down for like 4 or 5 or something like that. McCaskey lost his wicket early. I don't think McCaskey is going to start as opener against with Braffett. I think Louis is going to start. It only makes sense, you know.
Hmm. Hmm.
But I'm looking forward to see what he can do too. Ideally, if we had other opening batsmen putting their hands up, you know, in the first class season, he should have been given another season to let's see what he can do. But hey, sometimes you got to strike while the iron is hot, right? Louis is hot
Fair
right
enough.
now,
Fair enough.
so let's see how that happened. But man, it was really a pleasure talking to you, getting some insights into Canadian cricket. You know, hearing from you what it was like, back in the day, damn near 20 years ago. I still can't believe it because I'm still seeing this little boy running in at Burbyside,
Yeah.
bowling all afternoon. I'll tell you the truth, but every time I see you, I still see this little kid. And then the other day, I looked at you, I was like, damn, Jeremy's 27 already?
Yeah.
I,
No,
I,
no.
I
I
couldn't
still,
believe
I
it.
still